Right here.
You gonna do it?
I don't want to, but I'm going to. I'd really rather, like, stick forks in my eyes, but...
I actually brought some forks. We're on.
Yeah,
Just
can you
over.
pass me that? Please. Speak slowly.
We'll forever hold our peace. Good evening. This is call to
I'm
order.
taking notes.
Call to order the October 25th Finance Committee meeting. The principal point of the agenda tonight is to discuss the changes in free cash as well as two articles that are on the special town meeting warrant. Sure. We do have two guests, Town Manager John DiAgostino and our accountant, Mr. Oakman. Thank you very much for coming. And some members in the audience. I suppose to absolutely not belabor anything and to make as much productive work as possible with the folks who are here for the segment, including yourselves as well as the Finance Committee. There seems to be some beleaguered points as it relates to, I believe, two articles. At least one article has some beleaguered points, one of which is Article 7, and the other happens to be Article 1, which is the free cash piece. If we can actually start with Article 7. Article 7 being the ambulance enterprise fund.
Okay.
I believe, and I can speak for the group, is that it is the intent of the Finance Committee to support the article. There just seems to be some linear confusion in my opinion, quite frankly, as to what the expected numbers should be, and I'm misunderstanding what the motion reads that actually is that 665 number. So as it's currently constituted, the number.
Do you have the sheets? Let's hand those out as well. These sheets are really what you're going to go on as far as trying to explain this. The sheets that I'm referring to are the sources and uses sheet. This sheet is now final, and if we go to Article 7, you will see that Article 7 has a 615 enterprise number. That number is going to stay the same. That number is an amount that, if you look at the 480, the 65, and the 70, that equals 615. That number is correct. That article number is correct as it is written in the warrant. So that answers.
So just, I guess there seems to be a degree of acrimony as to whether it should be 665 with indirect cost being 120, and I think that really is what the progenitor of all the confusion was.
That's right. If you look under enterprise funds in this spreadsheet, and you look at the 615 number, which is Article 7, in the 80,000 that's being transferred, that number comes out to 695, which is the 665 plus the 30,000 to fund prior year raises for the fire department, coming from ambulance receipts.
I guess maybe in my mind is a misunderstanding use of fund versus trying to set up the account piece. So just.
Precisely. Article 7.
Based on all the feedback that we had, we get a question, I'm going to put a motion forward, or recommendation out
It is 615 plus 80, which is 690. 70, the 80,000 that I was referencing in my emails is part of funding that's going to be transferred from the revenues in anticipation. At this point. That's correct.
We have.
Need a motion?
We do, yes, sir.
Motion to approve?
Any discussion? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay, motion carries. Great, it's Article 7. Article 1.
You want to go to Article 10?
We already motioned to accept Article 10 now.
Okay,
Unless there are changes to the substance of.
there are changes.
Okay.
So, but let's go through them. You want to go through Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again to just reaffirm, or?
Unless, here it is, Article 10 is just moving any action regarding Article 1 to Article 10.
Okay, no. Article 10. Article 10, the original number in the warrant has been changed. That number now reads, hang on a second, 129,781.23. That's correct. I guess there was some true-up figures between the union and the chief that got us to a more, I don't want to say realistic number, but a better number than what we were carrying. We had double-counted something, and as a result of that, we caught that error, and rather than go forward with it and have too much money in the fire department budget, the lower number is the more accurate number.
So instead of the 156, 468, 59, it's 129, 780, 123.
That's correct, and it covers, in that number, it covers the FY 12 number, plus FY 13, 14, and it begins to fund the capital, the account or the contract in its first year, which is what's required to do. For a collective bargaining agreement, we're obligated to fund the first year, and thereafter, every other year is funded as part of the operating budget.
And this just funds the first year?
It funds the first year as well as the prior year, the 30,000.
Retro.
That retro.
What was that final figure?
129,781.23.
If you go past the copy of the contract, it's in the handout.
Yeah, it's in the motion.
That's the new one? Yeah, well, you have draft. Get rid of everything that has draft on it. Yes, do you have the draft one as well? Okay. Where's the? This is the actual handbook that's going to be passed out at town meeting, which goes through, and what I wanted to do afterwards, after we get these thorny issues resolved, I wanted to go through it with you so that you know what we can expect for Monday night as far as information is concerned.
So just on with this Article 10 piece, the motion, I was actually just referring to the warrant with the motion.
How is it, so aside from the 156, 468, changing to 129, 71, 23, how is the rest of it going to change? What is the rest of it?
The retro, let's go back. The retro number is 30,144.79. And the FY13 MOA is 99,636 and 44 cents. You add those two numbers together, it's 129,781.23. Now, this is a $26,000 reduction from the original figure in the warrant, okay? What I'd like to do with that number at this point. Well, it's not other available funds, it is 8,956.9. Reconsider it, or do you want to reduce the number? Because you've already approved it. What I want to point out in 10 is that there's two separate motions. One if Article 7 is approved, and one if Article 7 is not approved. Because if Article 7 is approved, then obviously, when we get to 10, we're going to skip down to the latter motion, which would be the Finance Committee moves it to town vote to fund and implement the retroactive and current cost items of the collective bargaining agreement between the town and the IAFF, which is the fire union, Local 2080, for the period beginning July 1st, 2012. That's the retroactive component of it, ending July 2015, and including amounts under a related agreement for the period of July 1st, 2011 through June 30, 2012. It's the FY12 number, by appropriating the sum of $129,781.23 as follows: for retroactive costs, to transfer $40,824.64 from Healthline item and $80,000 from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund, and for related increases to base salaries for the current fiscal year to raise and appropriate $8,956.59. Well, it would come from the enterprise account, assuming that the enterprise number and Article 7 passes.
But the difference in those two motions is just
Where it's
which
coming from.
ambulance account it comes from,
Which pocket?
depending on whether
Article 1, A, B, and C. As you know, we do have a lower free cash certification number, and that occurred, it's interesting how things, if you go down to Martin's Coffee Shop, what actually ends up coming out of the coffee pot down there, so to speak, is we screwed up the free cash number. What happened was, and we would like to explain this publicly, and we'll probably do so again on Monday, there was an error made in relationship to a grant. It's a $99,000 grant, came in to the town. That grant was booked to general fund, and actually, it was a grant that was reserved for the school department. The school department goes through its fiscal year, it spends its money in anticipation, and as a result of that, we reserve that money to go back to the school department to clear up that grant fund. $99,000, a CIC grant, Children in Crisis grant, which put us in a little crisis. So the amount, 99. Well, it comes in as a very benign wire transfer. And what we do is we try to figure out between the town accountant's office and the treasurer collector's office. We found out it was a grant. It got booked, unfortunately, to the general fund portion. Town budget versus the grant. We caught the error. The Department of Revenue did not. And our approach was, rather than carry any kind of a negative balance going forward, we wanted to correct it sooner rather than later. And in order to correct it, we contacted the Department of Revenue. Department of Revenue reviewed, said yes, we're correct. Certified free cash. That is the actual number. I didn't book it. do the process and we find that there's a deficiency, in it, try to establish if it's a no. if I had thought that this would be an issue, maintain our credibility with the rating agencies, if we were going out within the next 12 months to do any kind of an authorization to borrow, that's when they rebond and re-rate. I will say, myriad of folders, the questionnaire, it was a 9-page questionnaire on the financial condition of the town that we had to answer in preparation for phone discussion with Moody's and Standard & Poor's. So I will send that to you because it gives you a true reflection of the depth in which they go into the finances of any municipality, whether it's Abington, East Hopscotch, it doesn't matter. So that'll give you a sense of the broad scope of what they look at in relationship to setting a rating for a particular community. It's pretty impressive and it's pretty extensive.
So two, are we discussing
On 1B, the approval that I got was to change to 3.19 from the 10th, and then it was approved in the last meeting with that change, and they received back to the
Plus the 30, plus the 2270.
Okay, so we're just taking that.
You got three, yeah, you got 340.42, yeah. Well, because, we're taking the 30 that was from healthcare along with the 22 capital trust account of $385. Yeah, we didn't spend it all.
So just to be clear, the only article that changes is Article 1A. 1B is the same.
Yes.
Okay. So with the information we just received, I'll entertain a motion to reconsider 1A.
Motion reconsider 1A.
Cindy, second. All those in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve Article 1A, or whatever your pleasure would be, with regards to the changes that we just discussed. John?
Make a motion to approve Article 1A as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? No. Motion carries. The principal scope of the agenda today was to cover, as I just mentioned, those two particular articles as it pertains to the change to cash.
To review to this packet that the residents decisions as it relates to the articles. 1A, B, and C we just went over. The second page deals with the actual certification. 734. The second page breaks down how we're taking $400,590 from stabilization, $5,000, as you know, for the fire station roof. And the reason for that, if you can't put money into the capital trust that has anything less than $10,000. So those numbers of the capital trust, cash healthcare, for Article 4, 3, 5. And then obviously there's a breakdown of how we are funding the articles as a whole. Anyone taking a quick look at this would that we have an operating budget on not only raises, but also the free cash number funding capital projects that we have proposed. Yeah.
That's my opinion, unless everybody else says that. We'll share it.
No. And then, obviously, there's no other backup information until we get to Article, because most of this is really either stuff that we have revisited. We talked about Article 7, and then we get into the Article 8. Article 8 is the highway and sewer numbers. And if you look at Article 8, you've got 10,000, that's going, 7790 that's going to be raised and appropriated, and you've got 6,297.19 coming from sewer retained earnings to cover, those articles. And if you add all of those numbers up, you come up with the amount that we need to satisfy the 2-year agreement, which is a 0 and a 1.5%. And the Board of Selectmen has signed off on it, the town manager has signed off on it, the union has signed off on it. In essence, we have an agreement here. And then we move to Article 10. Now, Article 10 is an article that now has been reduced down to 129, 780, 123. And you have the backup information along with this article as well. Now, we had discussed, I think, and probably need to reiterate, that this isn't a town meeting that's going to negotiate a contract. The terms and conditions of the contract have been negotiated. This is what you have. What town meeting's authority and responsibility is, of course, you can ask questions, but, as far as deciding, well, I think it should be 5 years to 19 years for $150 for longevity or senior step, or what, those issues are not something that should be entertained at a town meeting, other than the aggregate appropriation amount as it is outlined in the warrant. Just the MOAs. The contracts, once they're approved and signed, will be put on the website.
So in this, though, this will go to town meeting and we'll include you're going to include that?
Yeah.
And you're just going to clarify that that's just for point of reference.
Yeah.
only.
Yep. I think, there was some discussion with the union as to whether or not we should be doing this. We did it last time on a very limited basis because we had a limited contract. My direction from the Board of Selectmen has always been to provide this information, because it's better to have an informed group voting than an uninformed group voting, or the perception that we may be hiding something because we don't have this information available. So rather than not have the information available, we feel it's more prudent to have the information available with the proper parameters set, that, town meeting's role in this whole process is to appropriate the money. And, if you agree with it, fine. If you don't agree with it, you can vote as you see fit.
Are you going to give an explanation of that, when you start, that the contract has been negotiated?
And signed, yeah.
And that it's not something
Subject to
that on
renegotiation.
town floor, that you can take out bits and pieces or change bits and pieces of the agreement?
Yeah. And I think that if the moderator feels the same, I think that, having his input into it would be...
I get it back. There's no amendments allowed, it's up beyond the scope, out of order.
Is that available on the website also?
This has yet to go on the website. This is what we're going to prepare for Monday night. We will put it on the website tomorrow.
Because I'd like to see it on the website before people see it for the first time at town meeting.
Yeah, no, we'll put it up tomorrow.
they have questions, they have to, you know, maybe it's a question that they don't want to get up and ask at town meeting, but they'll
Pick up the phone and give a call. Oh, I get a number of people coming in, asking all kinds of questions, you know. Which is good, because the more informed people are, the better the decision is going to be. That's clearly how I feel about it, and I think I think we're gonna be in good shape. There's nothing else controversial, I don't think, in this whole, document, but, you know, it is town meeting. People have a right to get up and say whatever they want, and I don't know. I think it's pretty straightforward. We've been working with it for a number of months. Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, everybody is on board with, you know, the articles as they are written and proposed and voted. I think it's, hopefully, we can get out of there before Monday Night Football.
And or against it. Any other comments from the group?
I have one question. On the capital plan, it reached 2 cruises and we voted 3.
What's that?
Did you vote 2?
Yeah, 69.5. Where do you see 3?
No, I thought we had voted 3 before. I thought it was 104,000.
No, well, just so we're all clear on the cruiser situation. In 2012, we voted, we approved 3 cruisers. We are now approving 2 for a total of 5 in the last 2 years.
To your point, Chief, it was, the last what we had, it was originally asked for one, we motion of the group to put it up to 2, so it reflects the 2 that we motioned to have, so. Any other questions for the group?
John, wasn't that the plan we had? You said now for 5 and 2 years, but that was the plan we had anyway going forward, wasn't it? 3, 2, and 2? So we got 3
Well, that
last
was-
year, 2
that-
this year, 2 next year.
That was his plan. That's not my plan, that's the plan of the fire chief, of the police chief. However, I will say that the operating budget, and that's the issue that I think if we left it in the operating budget when we had the opportunity to do that, we'd have been better off, but we made choices, we made decisions that didn't necessarily pan out. At the time we made the decision was basically to pull these 2, let's do something else, and then we'll come back and revisit it the fall. We have always felt that, and I had indicated to you that the 1 cruiser would be sufficient for this year, but that didn't obviously, you know, pan out, and we're doing the 2. So we're on the 3-2-2, but you also have to understand that it's a small department. That's an aggressive switch-out plan.
Well, I appreciate that. If there's actually, the town operators actually expressed an interest to speak. I think, just summary, we did the 2, it's a consensus with what the request of replacement plan is going to be, previous statements thereof. I think that's right. Do you have a comment before the show?
I did, I just forgot an email that was sent to all of us. I just wanted to make the comment that because we may disagree, does not make us uncooperative. I just want to make that really clear, that you don't have to agree with what you may put forth, and we may have, within our own board, disagree with each other about the plan that comes out.
But I have always been cooperative.
I mean, the statement made is that that does not make us uncooperative.
Never said it did, but I'm also saying that I have been always cooperative.
I had something to say on that also. I didn't appreciate those emails either. You treated us like little school kids. You're the one that told us, if it doesn't get by the finance committee, it doesn't get by town meeting. And then when something didn't get by the finance committee, you booed about it and you wrote all kinds of emails to us, or to our chairman, which wasn't fair.
Well, I spend a lot of time here providing you with what I believe to be good opinion,
I agree.
sound judgment, and I felt as though that having the 2 cars was less important than, you know, funding some increases. We can agree to disagree with that, and I have, as I do in a democracy, every right to express my feelings as I see fit. You do as well. and I don't hold any or harbor any ill will or negative feelings. It's the way it goes. I understand it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But at the same time, I look at it and say, I spend a tremendous amount of time with this board. And I look for levels of cooperation to get what we need passed. My priorities may be different from yours. That's fine. I work with the budget every day. You visit it once in 3 months or over a 3-month period. I work with it. I know what department heads need. Try to give them what they need to be successful because the town will be successful. Unless we get more police officers for the police department, those cruisers are going to be new for a long time. Because we need more police officers, we need more personnel, we need to pay attention to the personnel of this town.
I disagree with your assumption that unless we get more police officers, those crews are gonna be new for a long time. Because they won't be. I've experienced that, and I did not appreciate those remarks. I've always supported you in anything, but the minute I agree with you, you want to chastise. Why? We disagree. That would be an end of story. You told us if it doesn't pass us, it won't pass town meeting.
That's correct.
It didn't get by us. So what was the big hullabaloo all about? Why did you say you didn't have confidence in us anymore?
I didn't say that. What I said was that in our, you know what, maybe what I should do is make all the emails public, because that'll probably clear up a whole lot of things. The issue for me was, I sit here daily and do this job to the best of my ability, okay? And all I look for from time to time is a level of cooperation. Now, it doesn't mean that we always have to agree, and if we don't agree, then that's fine. I have no problem putting forth exactly what you voted.
But then
That's exactly what I
write us an
did.
email that didn't insult us.
I don't think,
Thank you.
that I didn't, in 2012, we replaced 3 cruisers.
How come that wasn't brought up at the meeting then?
Because I wasn't asked.
Well, why wouldn't it just be brought up?
The issue is not about the cruisers. The cruisers, there were 2 very separate issues. There was the issue of the cruisers, there was the issue of salary increases. We spent a long time on salary increases because we all agreed that it wasn't because we didn't think that the salary increases that we were putting forth, that people weren't deserving of salary increases.
You want another way to fund it.
No, that's not what we said. What we said was that we felt that the last 2 town meetings, 2 of those positions' salaries had been increased, and other positions hadn't been. And we pointed out a couple of positions that hadn't been. Raises that had been voted down year after year. We said that we thought it was important moving forward, to take, get back on track with giving salary increases. We just didn't think that those particular positions at this time, after we've just given 2 salary increases, is the right thing to do.
And I respect
When other
that.
people, and so then we voted on that, we voted against the salary. Then later on.
Well, you know, actually what you did was you voted to give an amount of money, which was $5,000. And then you voted to pass over the article. That's what happened.
We disagreed about that.
And
We
I,
then got to the cruiser, there was a separate issue. There was then money. Someone stated, save the money in the capital. And then someone else requested, a cruiser had been requested. We had made a kind of a, you want to call it promise or a commitment back in April to the police chief that if we took it out of his operational budget, that we'd put it back in the capital plan in October. We wanted to, now we had the ability to do that. We voted to. There was 2 separate issues, and it wasn't.
and the chief also sent an email that basically said he can get by with the 1 cruiser.
This was, that email was prior to having that money.
No, it wasn't. It was part of that discussion. Who was being compensated, so to speak. But, and we had that whole discussion that really it's the town manager that makes those types of decisions. You vote the number. We have to list it as such in the warrant as to what the money was going to be spent for. And we also talked about the fact that if the money was $30,000, the town manager could spend 10 of it. And we went through that whole issue. But the vote to do the cruiser piece came after the board already knew that the police chief in his memo said that he could live with 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Before we had the
That's-
30,000
that-
Before
right.
we had, and before we had voted.
And so
on
the
it.
30,000, the cruiser and the 1 came when we talked about the bagging mower, it had nothing to do with the salaries. So the chain of email between yourself and the police chief that came to us was, we were talking about doing away with the bagging mower versus a cruiser. He said he could do without 1, and we talked about the fact that he was probably being, as we put it, a good Joe.
No
So
question.
that's what
Yeah.
reiterated the whole, it
Yeah.
started the conversation, but here nor there. It's,
I think, as Cindy just described, it really comes down to, we all have recollections, but I guess the beauty is going to be, as you look around, there are all these cameras, and it's all recorded meetings. Anyone who's really interested in the scope and the how-to, that they can watch the meeting. I think it's equally important during the course of that meeting, we did discuss that if the group
had agreed that we would revisit this at the special before the annual of next year. That is one piece as it relates to.
No, of this year. The special within the annual is in the year in which you're dealing, which is FY '13. Right, yeah.
Calendar, so sometime between in the spring of calendar year 13, we would revisit. That's what we had discussed.
And we had agreed to do that.
Which then leaves us where we are, which is we just revisited and voted on 10-7-1A.
Mhm.
Sean, you raised your hand earlier.
So I just had one question and one update. One was, well, just to anticipate the question, tell me if you don't mind me getting up close to the microphones.
If you don't mind just saying your name.
Sure, Sean Riley, Town Moderator. One of the articles, I think it's the Fire Department contract article you guys already discussed, and I think you said we dropped it about $27,000 to be a more accurate number. Begs the question, okay, what happened? Where is that extra $26,000? What's the plan? Just to kind of leave it alone and we'll deal with that in the spring? Or has that been used?
No, we haven't done anything with that. That, we may or may not spend it.
Right.
But if, and what I'm anticipating, you know, is that we're gonna probably need to use some of it if we have issues with trash.
I just want you to
Yeah.
anticipate the question, that's all. I just want to make.
I think keeping it there would be more prudent than taking the money and using it
Yep.
in stabilization. That's
Does
what
it
the.
just stay in the general fund, or?
It floats. Yes, it's in the general fund. It's a capacity that we haven't reached. And rather than use it all now, it gives us the ability to be a little flexible in the event that we need to spend that money on other shortages that we can't anticipate at this
Makes no matter to me, I just want to note that someone may do the math and say, where's it going to go? And we have not incorporated it into all these motions, so it's there in kind of a reserve for to use.
Just kind of jump onto that, I guess the question is going to be is, well, geez, 26,000 was almost 30,000. So is that going to be used to fund those raises that we had talked about in Article 3?
The only way you can do that is to do it at the special within the annual.
Or do you make it, use it towards the 40,000 shortage and the shortage, I'll say, in the stabilization?
That's correct.
But that's something that will be carried forward, and you can address it in April.
But I do think, as I said before, I do think that we're going to have to do something with salaries at some point.
Yeah. This is, and my only other thing I wanted to bring up, this is, well, we're taping this, what's today, Thursday, the 25th. John and I and some of the selectmen were emailing, and I think Maureen was on the list, about the potential of the hurricane coming on Monday, Tuesday. We don't really know what's going to happen Monday night for town meeting. So if it's bad enough that it's obvious that people aren't going to come out of their houses to go to the town meeting, or if we just don't get a quorum, we've been throwing around a couple of different dates. Unfortunately, it's a very difficult time of year because we can't postpone it till the next Wednesday because that's Halloween. If you went to the following week, you're looking at the presidential elections. If you look at the following week, it's Veterans Day on Monday. A possible date, and the selectmen will probably decide this more on Monday, would be either Tuesday or Wednesday, November 13th, 14th, if the storm comes in and prevents us from having. Yeah. I would urge everyone who's watching this meeting, if the storm is not bad, come on out on Monday night, let's get our business done on the 29th.
And it'd be safer there than anywhere else.
Yeah, it is the evacuation center of the town, right?
If you were going to cancel town meeting and change the date, how would someone at home know that?
Well, legally, myself and the town clerk have to show up there that night and publicly declare, even if there's no one else in the gym, we have to be there to declare the next date.
So it's not something you can announce ahead of time? You couldn't put it up on cable and say...
For informational purposes, I mean, if we know Monday morning that the storm is coming and it's going to be a doozy and we're not going to get a quorum, and frankly, if the public safety officials urge us not to hold a town meeting because of keeping people off the streets, I would suspect that the town manager could send out an email for public safety purposes saying, please don't leave your homes. The plan is to do this, to postpone it to a date certain, whatever they determine.
I think it would be safe to say that if the state is, if we're in a declared state of emergency, that the chances of town meeting going off are going to be very slim. However, what I would caution everyone to is the fact that while we can set the classification hearing to set, a single rate or a dual rate,
Right.
if we don't conclude town meeting, because some of these articles are raise and appropriate, and we don't get our tax bill out by December 31st, and there's a good possibility that if we hold it that late in November, that we won't get the,
Yeah, it's
Tax bill
extremely
out.
important that we get, I'm sorry, Tuesday the 6th is presidential elections. Oh, Tuesday. Well,
Monday, the 20.
right, two problems with Tuesday is, right now, they're saying the storm is a 2 to 3 day storm. We just don't know if it's gonna, I just watched news before I got here, we don't know if it's gonna hit Washington DC as the eye of the storm, or if it's gonna hit New York City, Boston as the eye of the storm. Don't know.
Yeah, I think, well, and I've been sending to the chairman, who probably should send to you, the
MEMA updates.
MEMA updates. The MEMA updates are tracking it to New York, New Jersey as the eye of the storm, which means that, we're going to get a lot of wind, we're going to get a lot of rain, but is it going to be enough that's going to...
Are we gonna have power? We just don't know.
Just between the 8 and 11 update, it shifted.
Right.
This morning, I've been tracking it for our stores up and down the coast, and it's shifted from Cape Cod. I mean, it was gonna come right over us. In 3 hours, they shifted it to New York. I mean, it could just
Yeah.
easily shift back tomorrow.
My purpose
Yeah.
is just to ask people to pay attention. We will try to get the word out as many ways as we can if there is a postponement and to when. But it's critical that whatever date that is announced, that we get our quorum of 150 so we can get this work done and the town
But
can
I
proceed.
wouldn't recommend that we go to the 13th and 14th, because if we do not get the tax bills out by December 31st, we cannot, people can send money in if they want to pay their taxes in advance, but no one would be obligated to pay their taxes if we don't get the bill out on December 31st or before until May of 2013, which means that we would then have to go out to borrow for operating expenses, which is something you want to try to avoid.
When do you have to file the, what is it, the recap that you file? What is it that, you have to file something with DOR after the town meeting's done? Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, but,
You file it, and they usually get back to you within 15 days, just like they do with the free cash. So you have to at least file it by the second week of December. First week would be beneficial.
Right. So if we did have a town meeting in the middle of November, the 13th, 14th, we'd only have 3 to 4 weeks to put that information together and get it into the DOR. If we could meet a week prior, a week later is Thanksgiving, so it's...
yeah, no, we can't.
I don't want to throw away too many dates because the selectmen and I and the town clerk are all talking about it. I just want to give you all a heads up, pay attention, we'll try to get the word out as soon as, the meteorologists tell us, bunker down the hatches, don't have a meeting. We'll try to find out what we're
I think if it's a declared state of an emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that we shouldn't meet.
Oh, yeah, we
I
shouldn't.
would agree with that, at that
My
point.
concern is even if it's not, if it's just really bad weather, I don't know if we'll get 150 to start the meeting either.
Yeah.
So we still have to have a backup of where we're gonna go. But
As long as we're aware of the parameters at the other end, because part of part of that recap is a listing of the expenditures between the last certification and this one, so we have to
Oh,
list.
I understand, I don't want to dismiss that at all,
Okay.
and we can't, to go to Barbara's question, we can't really go to October 30th, because frankly, if we're in the middle of a storm, an emergency, it's gonna be hard to get the word out to tell people to get hit the next day. And again, the 31st is Halloween.
What about like November 7th? It's
They-
after the presidential election.
There was a talk, because the problem with the 5th was setting up town meeting, finishing town meeting late at night, and then ripping it all down and resetting it up for the elections for 6 AM the next morning. The Thursday is a possibility, because then they could break it down on Thursday morning and potentially set up. That's some of the things I think the selectmen are discussing.
That would be better. I mean, the 7th would be better.
I don't know if the town will be sleep deprived at that point. I mean, that is a concern for her, but, I just want to give you a heads up. It hasn't been decided yet, and we're all watching the storm. It's only Thursday right now, we're 5 days away.
Yeah.
Thanks. And thanks for all the work you guys do, I appreciate it, and for the work that's done here by paid employees. All on the same team.
We try.
Okay, with that, we've covered each of the items that are on the agenda. Does anybody have anything else under other business that they wish to discuss? We're going to hold the meeting there from the last meeting, we usually have them to talk about. So
Do you want this in the minute? You should put that in the minutes.
Let's debate, no debate, or no.
Want to debate? I'll debate.
All in favor, no? Opposed, no. Thank you very much.
It seems to be every 3 hours.
What's that?
That I track, that I count.
Oh, we get the MEMA updates, which are a little bit more accurate. Yeah.
I don't know how you should know. It's still.
NOAA?
Yeah, no, it's the federal one.
Yeah. Those are pretty accurate.
My phone's are on, though.
Right.
Well, it's a natural